Hello and welcome to another action-packed episode of Geeky Voices Carry, the podcast where everything interesting happens offline. With me tonight is David. I got 36 pluses. Rollins.
Hey. Thanks for the pluses, eh?
And he does understand that his steering wheel is on the wrong side of the car.
Yeah. Manufacturing defect.
Yeah. Also, tonight, Josh Thompson.
Hey.
And, of course, Stacy Dellorfano.
Yo, I got 29 pluses on my sushi, so...
And she did that without pandering for a picture of the player's handbook.
You're right. I did.
Okay, so...
I got 42 likes on my little moving bobblehead Groot.
Dancing Groot.
That's pretty impressive.
Now, you know, I think that we need now a role-playing game that uses Dancing Groot as a resolution mechanic. Instead of a die, you have a dancing
Maybe
Groot.
some kind of version of Dread?
Yeah, it could. If it, bobbles in your direction, you're kind of screwed.
It'd be kind of like the spin the bottle mechanic or something in a role-playing game.
Are there actually, like, Dancing Groot toys out there? Like,
And allegedly, there's going to be one for Christmas.
oh, now!
Yeah, there's the Funko thing, but I don't think there's... People are really calling for a Dancing Groot, which I can understand.
It's necessary.
Yeah. So, okay. We are talking tonight without any sort of predetermined topics because we couldn't decide on topics that we all wanted to talk about. Stacy suggested stuff, but it was dumb, so we decided to ignore it. Well,
wow.
To be fair though, David has over the months given his fair share of dumb topics too. So
I've given some really winners. It's like some hugely bad topics. It's true.
So what So I will open the floor to the first question to David then, because he is pretty good at picking out bad topics to discuss. So, David.
Yeah.
Ask a question about gaming.
A question about gaming, but I'm not allowed to talk about 5e.
Yep. Nope.
That's all I've been reading for the last 3 days.
Well, that sucks to be you then, doesn't it?
All right.
Yeah, Stacy said no 5e, so you're.
Yeah, I know. She vetoed it. That was my bad topic for tonight.
Veto.
Okay. Low prep gaming, because somebody was talking about low prep gaming before. Without tables, because I don't like tables. What's the solution?
What's wrong with tables?
I think tables.
I don't like tables. I find them constrictive.
Constrictive?
You can make your own tables.
Well, then you just make
I don't
crap
wanna
up
do
as
that.
you go along. That's low prep.
What you do is, if you have a low prep game, in the third session you have one of the characters wrestle a dragon.
That's true. Or you just buy a Wizard's Adventure module, because they don't release a Dungeon Master's Guide until 3 months in.
Well, I mean, there are reasons for that, and I think it makes a lot of sense, because with 4th edition they released all the books at once, and that was retailers really didn't like that.
Yeah, I guess so, but still,
they had to buy like 10, 15, 20 copies of 3 different books all at once, and
well, they don't have to separate them.
I don't know. The release for 2nd edition was staggered. I remember we got the player's handbook, and then we had to wait for the other stuff.
I think we had to wait like a year between the player's handbook and the monster manual for AD&D.
Really?
Yeah.
That would have sucked. Yeah, I just can't understand doing that. After going through so many like single core rule books for ages, it seems very bad.
Well, I think if you've got I like a single core book. As long as it's not a single core book that's 600 pages. Because that kind of defeats the purpose of having a simple single core book. But
What do you mean, like Numenera?
Or a lot of the Palladium stuff.
Oh, well, yeah,
'Cause,
that's full of awesomes, so it's okay.
Yeah, half of that is like crazy art.
I mean, really.
What do you think, Stacy?
I don't think it's bad for my health.
Mm.
What are we talking about?
Giant core books versus staggered release of other books.
I thought it was weird the way they did this.
Book. Why do you think it's weird?
That was weird, yeah.
I don't know. It was the whole stagger thing. So what happened? The DMG came out first, right?
No, Player's Handbook.
Player's Handbook came out first. Okay, so then we're waiting for the DMG to come out. Is that
no? The next book is Monster Manual.
Yeah.
That comes out this month, I believe.
It seems weird to have the Monsters Manual.
Well, that's why I say you have to buy the adventure modules.
That's why they released a module.
Are they releasing one every month?
When's the DMG coming out?
I think the DMG.
2015.
No, no. It's supposed to come. I think November is the DMG.
Really? Not in October?
Yeah.
No, it's not October.
I mean, I guess you can play the game without it, right?
Yeah, you'll have everything. I mean, really, you'll have everything you need. It looks like the DMG so far is shaking out to just be like how to customize and how to play with the options and things like that. Then
interesting. I wonder if they hurt their own sales by doing that, and that people have been playing. I've been playing for a few months, and I don't need this book, so why would I buy it? But I guess it's a fan thing, so it probably doesn't matter.
Well, I mean,
I think the purpose of it is to build the habit of buying the adventures.
Ugh.
Well, I mean, they
hate it.
They've been pretty open about saying that they got a lot of grief from retailers about releasing all the books for 4th edition at once. And
why?
Well, because they had to buy all the damn books at once.
Oh.
I guess that would hurt
and there was also a problem where, and I didn't play 4th edition, so I didn't know this, but apparently the 4th edition core books were just riddled with errata.
Oh.
I think that's more based on the actual rules of the 4th edition, since they were more board game like. They just had a lot more little nitty gritty bits to them that needed to be tweaked, but
maybe.
I do think they did release for 4th edition a collector's set that was actually all in one bundle, so I don't see why they just didn't do that.
Well, I'm sure that for Christmas there will be a
definitely.
There will be a collector's bundle.
It's likely. But by then, everybody will have bought it.
Well, yeah, but the idea for that is to get it for somebody who isn't playing as a holiday gift.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Dumbass. Don't you understand these things?
Or your 12-year-old.
Yeah. Yeah, because nothing says Merry Christmas to a 12-year-old quite like a big-ass set of books.
800 pages of books.
Probably more than 800.
Oh, maybe.
Well, no, it's got to be more, because wasn't the Player's Handbook like 300 and some?
I don't know.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So.
It was like a page shorter than the 4th edition Player's Handbook.
316. Plus a character sheet.
So it will probably definitely be more than 800 pages. Probably be about 900 pages or so of game.
Pretty solid. Okay, so next topic.
Yeah, so let's not talk about 5th edition anymore because we'll upset Stacy.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean Stacy?
I'll just get bored.
She'll
but
fall
we're
asleep.
used to that. Okay, so you get to ask the next question then, Stacy.
Okay. When you are, each person gets to respond to this. When you are running/playing a game, and in your mind's eye, you're creating the cinematic of what it is that you're doing/running. Do you imagine it more like a television show, a movie, or a novel?
That's a good question.
That's a weird question.
I actually believe that depending on how you answer, there's a big difference in how you actually like to play or run. But answer first.
I think I probably imagine it the same way as I imagine a novel, like in 3 dimensions, rather than in 2.
Okay.
Because, I mean, TV and movies aren't much different except for the aspect ratio.
They have kind of different, yeah, they do. They have kind of different goals, because if a TV show like Doctor Who, it's one encapsulated story, and it does kind of have, you know, like a different
Whether it
acts
should
that go
be or
along.
not.
Yeah, and it's a slightly different feel than with a movie. It's got a little bit more cinematic, and it takes a little bit longer to get where you're going. Whereas a
Wow,
TV
there's
show,
lots of
you're just, especially if
establishing.
it's action, you're jumping right into whatever it is. Whereas, yeah, a movie, you've got establishing shots and all that kind of stuff. And then in a novel, you've got that third dimension that you're talking about, the omniscience, so to speak, of what's going on. But, you know, you also have much more detailed backstory, much more detail, you know, because in text, you write out a lot more than you really show in anything else.
Oh, yeah. No, I could see that. Yeah, then if that's the way you're defining it, then I probably imagine it the way I imagine a novel, and I fill in the spaces.
Me next to Chris.
Josh.
No. Okay.
You sound disappointed. Why'd you pick me?
He wanted more time to think.
Yeah.
He's going to say video game.
Oh, video game is a totally, it's a good option, actually.
Well, kind of. So when you mean novel, do you just mean like the level of detail? That's when you're talking about when you're like novel movie?
Kind of pacing too, like novels, like you could have an entire novel that's just leading up to the part where you walk into the portal and go into the alternate dimension, or, you know, wherever it is that you're going. Mm-hmm. Whereas, like, in a movie, you're going to start at getting in the portal.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, as far as like the creation of it goes, I'd have to say probably none of them, because I usually don't like to create it in advance. I just like to let it happen. So I like the random elements more than anything. Here, let's throw another giant toad at them.
Giant, hey, that's what happens when you guys frickin' linger in the hallway and shoot at each other. I throw a goddamn giant toad at you.
With your giant.
I thought that was the random table.
Yeah, well.
Of toads.
Yeah, three out of the 6 items were giant toads, so of varying numbers.
You guys wonder why I don't like random tables.
The giant toads.
That was that was a punishment random table for standing out in the hallway and bitching for 20 minutes.
Oh.
The GM throws a giant toad at you, or 3, as the case may be.
I think it's Chris's turn.
Yeah.
Actually, I think that I tend to approach it. I'm going to go outside of the options. Because
comic book.
Yep.
Comic book is another option. Yes.
Yeah, I would
extend the survey apparently.
Yeah, you really need to fill out all of the options.
Okay, but is it
as well.
a graphic novel or episodic, like,
That's actually a really good question.
Is it manga, or is it like an American/European comic book?
No,
is it digest?
It's like
is it
one
like
of those,
Archie?
It's like one of those pervy French comics. Really.
Oh, I like the pervy French comics.
Yeah.
So like Metal Hurlant.
Metal Hurlant. That's how they said it on the TV show. I always thought that was great. Metal Hurlant.
Really? That doesn't sound quite right. I would think they would call it Metal Hurlant.
No.
Yeah.
No, this was them trying to anglicize it, but it still came out as Metal Hurlant. It's like, okay, and then we have the big screaming head, and you know, stuff happens. But which actually is a great way to think of a role-playing game too. We have the big giant screaming head, and then shit happens. So,
that's true.
Yeah.
All right. So you never answered the question.
Well, no, I started to, and then, but no, I think of it, you know, because you've got the ongoing nature of the comic, and then if as you're going you don't like something that happened earlier on, you can always retroactively change it.
Or kill things off and then bring them back.
Yeah.
It's true. It is very comic bookish.
Yeah. So, plus you know, you can have villains that like to give exposition of why they're attacking you while
monologuing.
Well, they're monologuing while you're trying to hit them with a sofa in the upstairs of a whorehouse.
That's their fault for monologuing.
It's called exposition, bitch. Yeah. But yeah,
Death by sofa.
Honestly, I think that comics probably have had a lot more of an influence on my methods and the way I put campaigns together than anything else. Just because, with the genre stuff, I read a lot more fantasy comics than I do like novels, and fantasy movies mostly just bore the hell out of me because
they're pretty terrible.
Yeah, they're really stupid movies most of the time, and I find it faintly insulting that they feel that they don't actually have to make fantasy movies better.
Yeah.
Because fantasy movies, in a lot of cases, really have sort of plateaued in the late 70s, and it's just been running on the same fumes ever since then.
Yes, more boobs.
Yeah.
That seems to be the key to a fantasy movie.
Like that god-awful Solomon Kane movie. Holy crap. No, I do not recommend it, because it was like... all I kept thinking was, have you ever read a Solomon Kane story?
No,
and the answer would be no. Because
Solomon Kane's badass in the books. I mean...
Yeah.
He had the Solomon Kane hat on.
Yeah. Yeah, he had the pilgrim hat, and that was really... Apparently, that's all they felt that's all you needed for fidelity to a Puritan, was to put the pilgrim hat on.
Yeah.
In a way, it was about as nuanced and grounded in the character of a performance as Abraham Lincoln in Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter.
Yeah.
Where they also felt that the only thing you needed to make sure that you had fidelity to character was to put the big black hat on.
And a beard.
Yeah.
Well,
actually, for a lot of...
Josh, you need a hat.
Well, he didn't have a beard for a lot of the movie because it was like the younger years.
What? Oh, that's not believable. That's not believable.
Look, most of it takes place before he becomes president. You think he came out of his mom with a beard?
He should have. That would have been badass.
Exactly. Then we would have known the hero
with a beard and
that he was to become.
2 vampires.
Yeah.
With his
suck on that blade.
Yeah.
That's what he should have done. Right there.
See, this is why Spielberg's Lincoln movie failed to win any Oscars, was because they neglected the vampire hunting years.
Yeah, that's it right there.
Yeah. But yeah, that was also a very terrible movie that I can't really recommend anyone see ever. Which is a shame, because the book was silly, but it wasn't quite as dumb as the... I think I find myself willing to suspend my disbelief more for a novel than I am for a movie. You know? I don't know.
That's interesting.
But, so did that answer your question, Stacy?
Yes, it did.
What can you tell from that, Stacy? I'm curious.
Well, I mean, I kind of gave it away already. It's like... comic book, okay, to me it's a little bit like the action and where the action starts and how much action there actually is in the given game. Like, when I think about games, I think of it in the terms of a movie, and that's what is going on in my head when you're actually playing and stuff is actually happening. And a lot of people who I think of it like a novel, and there's this really slow build to when the action actually begins, and it's just like, I'm beginning to realize that I get really impatient with that.
I don't think so. I suppose it depends on what novels you've been reading.
It's yeah, I guess so. But
because I don't like a slow-paced novel. Like, it's part of the reason I can't stand Tolkien.
It's hard to describe. There's a lot more, even in novels that are fast-paced, there's a lot more narrative going on than in a movie. In a movie, it's just happening. Everything's happening. Whereas in a novel, you've got all the narrative happening in between. What the characters are thinking, what else is happening, the descriptive things that you have to have in there, and it feels like it. I mean, to me, it slows it down a little bit. And then there are games when that actually happens, where you can actually see that difference. Whereas there's a game where the locales where you are, you don't get a lot of description because you don't need a lot of description because really what's going on is all action. And then there's games where it's really important where you are, and the GM will talk and talk and talk and talk and tell you, you know, what the city looks like, or what the town looks like, or what the weather's like, and
I never care what the weather is like.
That's why I got that die while I was at Gen Con, so I could actually add weather to my games.
Okay, well, I can buy into that because I want to find out what the next thing is. I'm interested in what's in the next room. I want to know what's going on. Yeah. I want to find out. I want to explore.
Except during the competitive dungeon crawl, then you want to stay in the room where we're currently.
Well, I was trying not to lose any hit points. We didn't lose any hit points.
And we lost the damn game.
I know. Well, that's because in the first place I said, let's attack, and you're like, no, let's not attack those orcs. I was like, okay.
It was a room full of orcs. Of course we shouldn't have attacked them.
No, I was going to create a choke point in the door, and I was just going to fight those little bastards until they were all gone.
Gosh, that room could have gotten you a ton of experience, too. Maybe you would have won.
I could have stood in that door and held them off. I had a ton of hit points.
In D&D, you're supposed to be creative.
I was the toughest dwarf ever.
The toughest dwarf ever.
Well, the toughest dwarf I've ever played, because I've played, like, 2. One was a cleric. Actually, I think I may have only played 1.
Okay, Josh, it's your turn. You get to ask a question.
Oh, well, mine was kind of the 5th edition one we answered already. I kind of slipped it in there earlier.
You can't ask any questions about 5th edition, or girls, apparently.
Yeah.
Or gamers.
Oh.
Or Gates, or
Gates, yeah.
Gates, yeah.
That's okay, because I don't know enough about that to ask a question. Apart from
you can just ask about it. We can fill the rest of the show trying to explain it.
I don't really know much about it either.
And we'd all be wrong, which is what's the awesome thing about trying to explain it. We could all spend 15 minutes each explaining it, and we would all be wrong.
Whenever I notice the internet is blowing up over a hashtag, I just kind of ignore it.
That's probably for the best.
It seems like a wise thing to do,
Yeah.
and it seems to work pretty well.
Yeah.
Well, it's like I said, I didn't really get involved in the whole Gamergate thing because A, I didn't know what the hell anyone was talking about, and B, which probably should have been my A, I don't actually play video games, so I don't know what the hell anyone is talking about.
Yeah, I don't play video games either. So.
I don't play enough. I mean,
those people that play video games just don't give a shit either, really.
It's like the small core group of bros that everybody keeps. They're like a wasp's nest. If you leave them alone, they more or less stay in the corner of the yard. But if you walk over and poke them, then they just go all over the place, and it's an embarrassment.
Then they start kicking up stuff on 4chan, is what you're saying.
Oh, 4chan's a cesspool.
It is.
I didn't find out about. I hadn't even heard of 4chan until pictures of Jennifer Lawrence were on it. That's when I heard about 4chan.
And you were
and you went to the link because.
Oh my God, no.
Well, now I feel that celebrities have just as much right as anyone else to take naked pictures of themselves. And I think that, or of each other, and I think that people have a certain, whether they're a celebrity or not, have a certain expectation of privacy, and hackers shouldn't be doing shit like breaking into your cell phones and uploading naked pictures.
I agree that everyone's entitled to sexy fun times with photos.
That said, I will say in a bit of admiration in my voice that Jennifer Lawrence is a naughty girl.
So David
So you've
heard about
seen the
4chan like
pictures.
4 days
Yes,
ago.
I have seen the
Yeah.
pictures. Yeah.
Wow. You
Oh.
haven't been on the internet enough. My God.
You know what?
Thing's been
I
around
used
for
to
years.
work
I
in a
managed to
photo
do it-
lab.
I
I
managed
have
to do it
seen
without.
everything people can do with a camera. All
Yeah.
right,
I would
I have
make
seen it all.
Wow.
film. People actually do that, man. They actually go and they get. Oh man.
I worked because I used to do photography too, and I worked one summer just developing prints and stuff for a
Yep.
guy, and yeah, he had a sideline in doing special photography developing for people, and I got to see a lot of things of people that I didn't really need to see or that I was ever going to unsee, I think.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I worked in a photo lab for like when I was in college, and oh my God.
Well, yeah, I know the stuff that goes through that people just, I mean, this is a guy who actually said, we will,
We'll do, anything goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get that. We had limits, but we couldn't explicitly tell people what they were. So,
no anal.
anyways. So it would just be like, look, if we're not allowed to print it, we won't print that. But we still had to see it all.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it still came up on the little screen. It's still like, you still saw it all. Whether you printed it or not. And, yeah,
Well,
you just
printed
that went in the vault, and you just don't talk about it. There's a certain integrity to sexy fun time with photos, and I think it should be upheld. And I think that, going around and digging up photos of Jennifer Lawrence or any of these other women, strangely, it's all just women, is not okay.
Yeah, I want
Well,
pictures of like
although in
hot guys.
Well, then you need to look up the Kate Upton pictures because there was a number of photos of her with her boyfriend or whatever the hell he was.
I don't want to look at any of them. Look,
What?
here's the thing.
Kate Upton. No, actually, they didn't. Well, they didn't target any male celebrities. They didn't discriminate. They just did an image dump. So if you had naughty pictures of your boyfriend on there too, or husband or whatever, those ended up on the internet too.
Wow, that's a wonderful use of their time.
Really?
Yeah.
Good job, guys.
Sound like those old people. Get off my lawn! Wonderful use of your time. Don't you have anything better to do?
Well, yeah, kind of. I mean, really. They could be stealing, They could be stealing. They could be, like, hacking PayPal or something
You
right
could
now.
be thieving!
I think the Chinese are doing enough of that, so it's okay.
Just steal money.
They could be doing stuff with Bitcoin.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Like, I don't know. It just seems ridiculous to me.
Okay,
It is ridiculous.
I think we've wandered off topic.
We had a
yeah.
topic?
Well, the general topic of our podcast, but and mostly because Josh still hasn't come up with a question, so I'm going to make him actually ask one now.
I touched on at least 2 or 3 questions by now. Like 5th edition with the rule books being, staggered release. We had the whatever this conversation we just had was. I can't really.
You're taking credit for the celebrity photo hacking as a topic. Is that what you're saying?
I don't think I can take quite credit for it, but I did spur it.
Oh, man.
Oh boy. Okay.
This will be the episode that we submit to the Annies next year. Right here. Worst episode ever.
The Seinfeld episode.
Oh
We
my
talk
God.
about nothing.
Nothing.
Let's talk about.
Well, why don't we talk about what's going on outside of 5th edition?
Okay.
Is anybody doing anything interesting? Because, I mean, 5th edition is taking up a lot of space right now.
Well, as it's going to.
Hmm.
I mean, it's D&D. It's
Yeah.
the damn, the game.
Exactly. So where's there room for anyone else?
Well, I mean, it's not like other games aren't getting talked about or played. I think
they're all getting played, but is there anything new coming out?
Spirit of 77. Kickstarter right now. It's actually doing really well.
Spirit of 77?
Thanks in no small part to the Dorkland blog.
Yeah, I can buy that.
They actually have a really great Kickstarter page too, so there you go. The imagery alone sells it.
They do have some. They do have some really good visuals on the.
I mean, like seriously good. That's awesome stuff.
Now here's this is actually something that I saw in a discussion on Facebook about a guy who's a professional is going to be launching something, and he was talking about what rule systems to use. And it was interesting because you had the usual. It was like you had the people going, it should be Fate. You had the people going, it should be Savage Worlds. And then you had the counterpoint of the, it should be anything but Fate and Savage Worlds, or it should be an original system. Now, what do you think is the best? What do you think is the optimal option for a new game? Do you think going with a existing system with a fan base, whether your game should fit into that properly or not, or should you take the chance and go for the risk of an original system?
Oh, well, this is interesting because I've been thinking about it. I think if what you want to do is already there in another system, why are you creating something new?
Because you don't like that other system and you want to make your own?
No, like, what I'm saying is, if you can just do it, like, say I could just use Fate,
yes,
and it would work fine. Well, why bother releasing it?
What, Fate or your game?
Your game in Fate.
Oh, yeah. See, that's a good question that I've had, too. It's like, why bother making all of these? But I think it's just that it saves people the
work.
Because
most people are going to take your game and try to convert it into whatever system they're playing.
Yeah,
anyway.
And I think really the answer to that question boils down to how the person who's writing it, what's important to them. If, like, for instance, I want to make a whole system for Precious Dark because that's who I am and what I want to do. It doesn't really matter. People have told me several times, you can use Fate, you can use Savage Worlds, you can use insert whatever thing here, and to me that's not part of what I want to do when I'm writing the game.
Okay.
But I can understand where there would be people who are much, much more interested in the world that they're generating and the setting that they're generating and the kind of gameplay that they want to get out of what it is that they are doing, that they would be, perfectly okay and they would want to use Fate or something like that.
Okay, but are you going for your own your own system because you want to create a certain experience at the table? Is that why you're insisting? So you want to have a certain flow to the game, and you need to create a system to do that?
Right.
Okay, because that's where I'm at. I want to emphasize certain types of play, and I figure the best way to do that is my own system.
Right. And when I'm doing it, I take lots of things from lots of other games because you're not ever going to make something completely new and completely original.
No, you can't. That'd be ridiculous.
Yeah. So you just kind of Frankenstein together a whole bunch of mechanics until you start to get to the point where something works that you really like and that actually is fitting what it is that you're looking for. I mean, I want a very particular feel to Precious Dark. So I don't want it to be as generic as Fate. Mm-hmm. But I'm doing a Fate conversion for Changeling the Lost right now, specifically because I don't want to play in World of Darkness, but I want to play that particular kind of setting, and I don't want to go through a lot of pain, and other people know Fate, so there we go.
See,
So it just depends.
See, now I'm on the other end of things because with Paranormal Friction, I went with using Fate Accelerated actually right out the gate. I mean that was like, but part of the reason for that was I was looking for something that was more story oriented without being really jargonistic, and although, I mean, Fate does have its share of jargon, but I think in Fate Accelerated there's less of that.
Way less.
But, I mean, that's basically, and because of the fact that there was already something that pretty much did what I wanted in a simple way, I didn't feel it was quite as important to recreate the wheel.
Right.
But you make a lot of settings.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is true.
You're more about settings.
Yeah.
And you don't really worry about system. You're just happy enough to take Swords and Wizardry or Fate or whatever and just tweak it to fit your setting.
I mean, yeah, most of the time that's what you can do. And this is a problem that I have with some Kickstarters, is where when the Kickstarters start to become the System X stretch goal, where when when you fund the game, your original game, and then it's like, now if we make another $10,000, we'll do a Fate version. Now if we do another, whatever, there'll be a basic role-playing version.
Is that like lack of creativity when it comes to trying to find stretch goals there?
I think it's just they're trying to get the other
10 grand that's out there.
Well, they're trying to reach the other markets, basically. But the problem that you run into is that, excuse me, and even as somebody who does design settings, you do have to have some sort of system idea in mind, because, like, I mean, I have a setting book or a game book that has stats for Call of Cthulhu and Savage Worlds. Now, the problem with that is there really aren't two games with more opposing paradigms than Call of Cthulhu and Savage Worlds.
So, the game where we're all doomed to pulp.
Yeah. But the problem becomes then where they're just kind of shoehorning I mean, without any sort of changes. The kind of setting you develop for a Call of Cthulhu game is a lot different than the kind of setting you would develop for, Savage Worlds. Even if
I can see that. It's like, okay, guys, if you want to win, you can play Savage Worlds. If you want to die, we'll play Call of Cthulhu.
Well, it's the
Same adventure.
It's the difference, I think, in approaches to mythos fiction between Lovecraft and Howard. Howard's stuff was a lot more action oriented, which is why the Solomon Kane RPG is Savage Worlds.
Yeah,
that's true,
and works very well from what I hear.
Yeah, that's what I hear too. But it just trying to cram both of those games systems into the same setting, you're going to get problems because they aren't going to both approach setting in the same manner. So, I mean, that was basically the long roundabout way that I was trying to get to that point, if that makes any sense.
So, even if you have a setting, you need to design with a system in mind.
Or at least a set of paradigms in mind, which may or may not be, system specific.
Right.
But I mean,
it's system neutral, but with a certain kind of game.
Yeah. Right.
So you could be system neutral and have basic role play, Labyrinth Lord, and Swords of Wizardry kind of in mind, and those would all be okay. Or you could have, like, say, 5th edition D&D and Savage Worlds in mind, and that would be okay.
Yeah. But, I mean, each of those decisions is going to have an impact on the setting.
Right.
I mean, you can do the same sort of setting. I mean, you could, you could say a setting like, the Guardians of the Galaxy. You've all seen that movie by now, right?
No,
Sure,
but that's okay.
no.
Okay, we'll just leave David out. So.
I've seen a lot of commercials.
Yeah, but I mean, if you take that same setting, and then you do it for Call of Cthulhu, as opposed to taking that setting and doing it for, Savage Worlds, you're going to end up with an entirely different set of approaches. Still the same setting, and I mean, it's possible to do that, but you just need to take that sort of. I mean, it's like probably more like doing that sort of setting for Savage Worlds as opposed to doing it for like Traveller.
Yeah, yes.
So.
Because you're trying to get a comic book kind of feel.
Yeah.
And pulp is a lot closer to that. The pulpy Savage Worldsness is closer than Traveller, which seem to fit movies like Alien.
Yeah.
Or Firefly.
Or the
that kind of stuff.
Star Wars.
Yeah, sure.
No, the first Star Wars wasn't a pulpy movie. I think it got pulpier as it went along.
Yeah.
But okay, I guess it's that point where we kind of wrap things up and we do our something cools because Stacy is losing interest rapidly. So.
I'm just hungry and I have a headache.
We measure the length of our podcasts by Stacy's interest in what we're talking about.
My attention span.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So something cool. David.
Something cool? Pick someone else because I'm not allowed to talk about 5e.
Oh, that's the only cool
Now
thing
you can. Now you can
No,
talk
you know what?
about 5e.
Yeah,
Oh, I can?
Mm.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I just got the player's handbook, so I'm really excited about it. I like
Pretty
what they've
awesome.
done with the system.
What do you think about the feats?
You know what? The feats aren't bad.
See?
Yeah, no,
For the humans, don't they?
They do work for the humans. Actually, the alternate rules for the humans really works. The feats fit nicely, but you don't have to use them, which is good.
And there's only like 20 of them.
Yes, which is also good. It's a brief list, like the skills. I also like what they've done with magic. They've really cut down the power on it by cutting the durations of things and being explicit about how long certain spells will last, like contingency. The fact that contingency only lasts for 10 days makes a huge difference because it takes away a wizard's functional immortality. Because before, your bad guy wizard could have a contingency to cast magic jar when you kill him, and then all of a sudden he looks different and he's going after your party in 2 weeks. You know, like after they sold off all the gems that he was wearing. You know.
Or you set fire to his tower with books.
Or he set fire to his tower with books. I mean, that's a different deal. But you know, you find a really expensive statue of him in his desk drawer. You're like, ooh, better start looking at the gems. Maybe we should we sell these or should we smash them? You know, like, and there was other neat little things in there that I really liked. So yeah, magic isn't anywhere near as powerful as it once was at the higher levels. It's a lot more powerful at the lower levels, or at least more sustainable. I kind of like the cinematic, pulpy feel with the way they do hit points now. You're still managing your resources, just differently. I'm looking forward to when we play it. And I really like the Warlock class. Holy crap. It's cool.
It won't be allowed in my games.
What?
What?
Oh, we're gonna force it.
No, this isn't a warlock. It's
It's a sorcerer.
yeah.
With an alt art.
There you go.
It's an emo sorcerer that cuts himself to power his spells.
Exactly. Exactly.
Right.
So yeah, that's what basically what I've been reading for the last 2 days, and not finished yet, but enjoying it.
All right, Stacy.
Wake up, Stacy. We're done with the 5e.
No, it's Josh's turn. It's not Stacy's turn.
No, it's Stacy's turn.
It's Josh's turn. He gets in between.
I'm the damn moderator, so I get to pick who goes when.
Yeah, on my screen, you're right beside me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we had our next planning session for Contessa last Sunday.
Oh, awesome.
So
I've
that's
heard.
pretty cool. And we're moving forward with bi-weekly. That word is weird, bi-weekly. I mean, it really means every 2 weeks, but it really sounds like it should be like twice a week if you're talking bi-week.
Yeah, because
Maybe it's just you're using both kinds of weeks.
maybe it's bi-curious weekly.
Bi-curious week. Anyways,
Bi-weekly curious. That might
every 2 weeks, and we're doing a lot of new direction things that are going to be interesting. And
That's tremendously vague and uninformative.
yeah, well, so we're moving towards the goal of focusing on the idea of I haven't quite figured out how to put it into words yet, but the best way that I can do it is women empowering women, because there's a whole lot of especially out in the gaming world, there's a whole lot of guys. I hate the word mansplaining, but there's a lot of stuff going on that it makes it seem like you need to have a guy shepherding you into the hobby in order to really stick around, and especially in order to get into the more leadership kind of positions. If you're creating and you're developing and you're running and doing things like that, and it's kind of a weird kind of paradigm where it's hard for me to describe, but it's gonna be cool. Whatever.
Basically, there just isn't enough advertising that targets women, right?
You know what you know what they need to do is make pink role-playing games.
It's more like I don't see many products that come out that where the person who is leading the project is actually female, as well as the people who are working on the project.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, it's you have a male producer and you have a scattering of male and female writers, or you have a male publisher and you have a scattering of male and female writers.
Or you have a male publisher who puts a call out for female writers because he wants to have a female product.
Right, exactly. So then you end up really kind of, and it ends up being weird, and you end up kind of losing out, and the same people always end up responding to those things. I mean, there's probably about a dozen people that respond to those things, and that's about it. So, it's a little bit more about trying to get women to go kind of in their own direction and be able to be the leaders and the creators of their own products and the publishers of their own products and things along that nature. And I think the idea is to go the next level, like sitting, getting a place at the table and not having to worry about crap happening at the table is one thing, but getting a place at the head of the table is a completely different thing. And getting involved in independent game development and getting involved in all of these kind of things, I think it's really, really important for women to actually be a part of that and to have something that helps them facilitate that kind of thing. And it should be other women doing it. And I mean, it really weirds me out when I see panels that are specifically about women in gaming that are moderated by men.
Right.
It's just kind of like, how is that? I mean, I don't see anything.
And a lot of religion type things too. It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
It's almost the same thing, really.
Yeah. So I want to see more of that, and I want to see more of us, putting together things where we're teaching and doing things like that, and actually, trying to bring up more people. I mean, we're actually talking about running a contest at next year's Gen Con. So.
That's cool.
Yeah, it goes.
I think that anything that makes women as creators more normal is good.
That's the soundbite right
Wow.
there. Ooh.
Oh, wow.
It normalizes the idea of female creators.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, because if it's always something
special.
special,
Way to say it, David.
yeah, no, but like if there's always, we're putting out a call out for female creators so that we can put together this female book. No,
Yeah.
just
And it's-
there should be some women making some stuff and some, like there should just be women making stuff, and that's what you're doing, right?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I think that's awesome because the more of that happens, the more normal it will be, and the less it will be a thing. And once it's not a thing anymore, you're there.
Right.
I'd rephrase normal to common. It should just be common.
No, normal.
Because normal, it is normal already.
Normal's
It
a
should be more
judgment statement.
common.
Oh.
There you go.
It's got to be normal. It's got to not be remarkable anymore. Right now, it's remarkable.
It's the same thing that occurred with the post that I will not talk about, but I'm going to talk about right now.
Where post?
Yeah, that I won't name, but I will talk about. It's where when you are doing things specifically calling out women is different than everybody else at the table or everybody else on the project or everybody else, who's working for you, you've already missed the point.
Yes.
Completely.
Because it fetishizes women as creators.
Yeah.
Or just in general.
Or in general, and that's not
weird
okay.
And uncomfortable, and it's just like as soon as that is called out about me, I feel like a token, and as soon as that is called out about me, I feel weird about being around the people that I'm around for the rest of the time, and that's happened to me several times.
It's kind of interesting because I've gotten the opposite over the years, being a fan of paranormal romance fiction, and then wanting to do it.
Yeah.
I've gotten so much grief being a guy who is into these things.
Oh, I bet.
So.
Which is dumb, because if you read paranormal romances, there's nothing that screams pulp romance to me about.
No, and it's, what I always tell people is that one of the main reasons why I like this genre is most of the authors that I read in it do a much better job of writing about relationships.
Yeah.
Than your standard, male author. So.
All right.
Well, I mean, that tends to be the main sort of the line in the sand between urban fantasy and paranormal fiction is did a guy write it or did a woman write it? If a guy wrote it, it's urban fantasy. If a woman wrote it, it's paranormal romance.
And if you look at it, even just the Mercy Thompson novels, I mean, there was very little romance. There's really no sex. All of the sex is fade to black. And the actual romance it's in between. Like, there's constant action going on. There's constantly crap going on, and it's.
Well, and
it's just a weird thing.
And she puts her characters through the grinder.
Oh, yes. Wow.
I mean, it's just, and that's one of the other things that I find really fascinating about that genre is that the female writers tend to be more prone to doing that. I mean, it's like her books, like the Devin Monk books, holy crap, by the end of that first series, none of those characters are the same as what they were in the beginning. I mean, it's, one of the characters died a couple of times and got,
wow.
Or, it was just, she just rained a holy shitstorm down on her characters over the course of, was it 6-7 books, something like that? And it's just, I mean, some of them I remember reading, going, and it just kind of cringing, going, holy crap, did she really just? I mean, wow, but at the same time, it's like I really appreciate that because she's not above, one of the things I've always said is that I think that the definition of a hero is somebody who does crap, whether it's going to turn out well for them or not. And I think the heroes of paranormal romance really embody that because they do the shit that they know is going to, grind them up, and they do it anyway because they know if they don't, it's probably not going to get done.
Right.
And, they go, well, yeah, this bad crap is going to happen to me, but I'm going to have to do this anyway. So.
Yeah.
Okay. Now that we've ground down, speaking of grinding, we've ground down Stacy's. Josh, what is your something cool?
Well, the I'm saying Yeah, okay. Well, the Infinity Wars digital trading card game had its launch this past week. So it's a free-to-play card game. You can do it online, and it's just really great stuff. It has a sort of like high-tech setting that has a lot of fantasy tropes and a lot of fantasy elements in it. So it's kind of like a mix between the Warhammers and Rifts and all kind of stuff. Just a bit crazy, and it's just really cool.
How does that work? A digital card game,
You play it on your computer.
right?
In
But
this case,
how do you get certain cards versus other? Like, how do you get certain resources
Like
versus
decks.
other ones? Yeah.
like your cards,
How do you build a deck?
you just they give you something like 8 or 9 different starter decks for free through a little solo campaign that you can play, and then you can also buy booster packs, either with real money or
as
with
an in-app purchase.
either as an in-app type purchase or with money you earn by playing. So
It's like
you can play
Hearthstone.
completely
except-
free. Yeah, it's like Hearthstone, but with like Rifts and Warhammer mixed in.
So can you get the really good cards if you don't dish over cash?
Yeah, you can still get those. It's pretty cool.
So
And
really,
it's
the
based
people
on
who are
Australia.
paying for this game are the impatient people.
Yes.
Basically.
Okay.
hmm
Or the true gamers.
Yep.
Oh man, true gamers. Let's not go down that rabbit hole, okay?
I've gotten into like 3 casual gamers or gamers arguments, I think, just in the last week.
God.
Really.
Yeah.
I ignore all of those.
You're
Well-
very wise.
Because I'm a gaming journalist now, people keep dragging me into this
Oh,
crap thinking I
Game
care.
journalism.
And then, you know, when I start talking about my opinions on the matter, they all want to talk about something else because I'm not agreeing with any of them. So,
The most drawn out argument I got into was the one where I asked why I should care.
about anything in particular, just
About the
general.
video games. I'm like,
Oh.
why should I care? I don't play video games, so why does this matter? Because it was somebody who was talking about it with a bunch of tabletop people, and I'm like, how does this affect us? Why should we care?
Well, I think a lot of tabletop people got involved in that whole discussion, using air quotes for those watching on the audio podcast.
So you're not watching at all.
Listen, I smell something.
I think there was a lot of tabletop people who tried to use that as a way to get a larger profile. So,
Oh, well, yeah, that's
That's
why anybody jumps into any of
Well,
these
yeah.
discussions.
God.
Or to try and tie it into other topics that are not related, but they still want to try and make it so.
now my something cool I'm going to go into mostly just to annoy Josh, because I've been playing a video game for the last week.
Oh, I thought you just said you don't do that.
Did you get Gattaca?
But you don't do
No.
those.
Yeah, no, I've been playing Galaga for no.
You only beat the Sonic 4 set in
Yeah,
19.
I got this new game. It's called Pac-Man.
I've been playing Dig Dug for like ever.
I got the new Pac-Man, the Miss Pac-Man. Show how progressive I am.
Yeah. It's a pink Pac-Man.
Got pink on it.
Got a pink bow.
It's to be more inclusive.
No, I've actually been playing War Machine Tactics, the beta. Because
What the hell is that?
It is a video. It's a computer game version of the Privateer Press miniatures game. So really, I'm doing 2 things I've never really done.
Playing
At the
miniature
same
game?
time.
Wow.
Yes, I'm playing a miniatures game, and I'm playing a video game version of a miniatures game.
Jeez, you must be overwhelmed.
Are you enjoying yourself?
Yeah, actually, I'm enjoying I don't really understand most of what I'm doing, so I'm just kind of pointing, clicking, and going, okay, I'll use this weapon.
War Machine's pretty popular up here.
Yeah.
Not really Wargame anymore, though. So.
I'm supposed to actually be getting some stuff from them. I'm still waiting, but the video game was the easiest because they just sent me like a Steam coupon for it. But which also was the first thing I had to actually make a Steam account.
That's pretty normal.
Yeah,
wow.
So
I don't have a Steam account. I don't even know what that is.
It's just
They don't allow Canadians. Though.
Yeah. Yeah, it's only imperial measurements and dollars, so it would confuse you.
I see.
Yeah.
You'd have to use something other than 5s and 0s.
But it has been an interesting experience. I mean, the fact that I don't really know much about miniatures games, I'm sure I'm not getting everything out of it. I'm just basically, taking my big stompy Mac and stomping on things. So
that's not a bad strategy.
No, and it seems to work. I have no idea if the combats are taking me longer than they should be, or if I'm, I really don't know if I'm doing it right or not. But I'm having I don't see it as being something that it's going to, probably suck me in forever. But I've been having more fun with it than I expected.
That's awesome.
That's good.
So.
Congratulations.
And I like to bring it up because I got a free beta and Josh didn't.
Oh, that's what we need to know I am. Okay.
Yeah. Pearls before swine.
Whatever.
Yeah. So, actually, I've got a screener of the Dark Dungeons movie that I have to watch too, and I keep forgetting.
Oh my god. Are you ready to RPG?
Oh my god. I watched the trailer for that, and I was like going, I think I actually have to watch this now.
This is the worst trailer. It looks like the worst movie ever.
Well, yeah, it's not. It doesn't look like a great movie, no. But it's interesting because it's just interesting. So, but I've got the screener and I haven't had a chance to look at it yet. So.
Well, I hope you enjoy it, and it looks so awful. You should drink heavily, I think, when you watch it.
Yeah. Although, quite frankly, it's got to be better than the original Dark Dungeons Jack Chick comic, because I saw that as a kid.
Oh my god, that was so funny.
Well, I think that's it. I think they're intentionally going for the unintentional humor.
Well, yeah, because they couldn't. I'd read something about it where they said we decided to play it straight because if we played it funny, it would have been too over the top.
Yeah. Well, it's already. I mean, just the fact that the cool kids at the college are the people who play RPGs, we already know right from the get-go that there's something wrong with this picture. So.
It could be an engineering school.
Oh man. Yeah.
Josh Thompson hater.
There wouldn't be any religious people there, but
yeah,
that's tied into it as well. That's pretty good.
And I think on that note, we should probably call it a night for another podcast.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
you got pretty good during close to the end there.
Yeah.
Nice job. Good save.
Yeah, I think that typifies a lot of our podcasts. So
maybe we should start with our something cool. We're supposed to be 2 minutes or something. No, something cool. We should start with our something cool, and then let that lead us into the discussion, because really it could go all hour.
Yeah, especially when we don't have a topic. We should definitely start with something cool. That could take us cool places. Or we should start editing and just take out like the first 20 minutes.
No one's gonna edit.
Yeah.
I mean, this thing is still going live, and we're not going to edit this part out, so...
Alright, well, on that happy note, thank you for listening.
Good night, Internet!
Good night, interwebs.